Hey Julia, it's Allison, and I'm just here to walk you through the preliminary design presentation for your home, the North Highlands house that you are in the process of building. So I'm just going to quickly walk you through the presentation, which I will then upload into your Basecamp project management file. And then I'll also just do a quick screencast, like a video walkthrough of the model that I have built, so you can see a little bit more in real life how it would look versus just the still images that are included in this image. So I'm just going to jump right in here. Starting out just with the whole house color story. So this page basically shows every paint and wallpaper finish for all three levels of the house. So just so you can get an idea of kind of how they play together, the variation of tones and colors, as well as the incorporation of some eclectic patterns. So some more traditional patterns, some more geometric patterns, and a variety of scale and color with that as well. This kind of just is, I guess, the guide for the whole house and the colors that we will be pulling throughout the space to help kind of the whole thing feel cohesive but yet still eclectic. So I'll jump in more specifically to these as we go through each page. But you can see here all three levels of your house, how the colors are laid out and how they coordinate. So really a lot of the main open spaces, the stairwell, the living room, the main living area and kitchen is all going to be a really nice neutral color with nice neutral trim. And then we just have pops of accents in rooms, and then especially at the front of the house here. So there's a little bit more of a dramatic effect when you walk in the front. And again, lighting selections. So this is your existing dining room chandelier that you're going to be taking with you. So that kind of helped guide me with making selections for the rest of the spaces. So I am proposing a mixed metal finish. So a lot of the main ceiling fixtures, so your main chandeliers, your dining room, the library, master bedroom, breakfast alcove, general lighting, ceiling lighting, kitchen island, are going to coordinate with, that polished chrome or nickel. But then I am suggesting just little pops of, this antiqued brass. So in your bathroom sconces, in the powder room, occasional picture lights in specific areas, just to give a little bit more of that eclectic feel, and, bring in more variety of tones and finishes. And then this is a really awesome light fixture for the stairwell that I'm wanting to get your feedback on. It's more of a antique brass, so it's a little bit darker, but I still think it works with everything. But that just give you an idea of the lighting selections throughout and how they kind of work and coordinate with each other. So jumping right into the basement level, you can see just the color selections as well as your existing art placement will be on this page. And you can just reference, which color is what. And I'm also going to be sending you actual samples that are labeled to match these, so you can see them, and touch them and see how they look next to each other. So again, the basement, a little bit more fun, but keeping it light and neutral, since we're not going to have a ton of natural light in this space. I'm suggesting doing a tile, but that's really similar to the wood floor upstairs. So we would have like the wood floor upstairs stained to match whatever tile we select for the basement. So the whole house just feels really consistent. Neutral walls and trim, and then potential to use this really large scale hex wallpaper, and then a little bit of fun finishes in the rec room. So doing a mirrored backsplash behind the wet bar, because that can get a little bit expensive if you use it in big expanses, but we don't have a lot of space, so it'd be a really cool way to reflect light from this fun fixture and not have a crazy impact on the budget. Guest bathroom, so using some of this graphic pattern floor tile in the shower, but then keeping the rest of it pretty clean and simple. So a standard size marble hexagon floor, some subway tiles, 4x8 or 4x12, a little bit more modern in size, for the walls, and then just inlaying some marble strips so that to break up all that subway tile, but without, going over the top budget and labor wise in a bathroom that you're saying probably won't get used a whole lot. Moving on. Oh, real quick, this is just showing you the finishes for the guest bedroom down there. So a darker blue with that nice crisp white trim and a warm wood tile floor. Mudroom, I went a little bit more funky in this, but tried to break it up a bit by using a wainscoting, so a board and batten style, but with a little bit more detail. So it's not super country, it has maybe a beveled edge or some sort of more decorative trim inlaid in the board and batten. A darker wall, but then with a metallic wallpaper, geometric graphic wallpaper on the ceiling, and then using a piece of your large scale art down here as well. The bench seat, I would say, would all be the trim color, similar to the board and batten, and then we could throw in some really fun textiles to do a bench cushion, a couple accent pillows, just to make that a cute little space right when you walk in. Floor tile, again, just something pretty neutral and light since we're going a little bit darker with the walls, but we could do that in a herringbone pattern, so it would be a 6x24 plank size tile, and then we could just run it in a herringbone pattern to add a little bit of interest into this space. So every time you come in from the garage there, it's just something nice to look at. So that's all for the basement. Moving up to the first floor, again, your lighting or your paint and wallpaper selections here and where they would go, as well as all your existing art that I'm suggesting for the first floor. Of course, we can, discuss the art more in depth and switch things around based on, how much you like a certain piece versus, wanting to have it on the main floor versus the upstairs, because you have a lot of really large pieces of art and not as much wall space in this house. So a lot of the art ended up upstairs in the hallway in the master bedroom because that was where we had a lot of expansive wall. So this is, of course, something that we can discuss about switching some things around if you're looking, to see some things in different locations. I've also noted where I think mirrors should go. I know you touched on that being something you wanted to incorporate into the design, just using a lot of, mirrors and wallpaper and really highlighting the art and the placement of such. So you'll see where I've noted where we would add a new or existing mirror. The office, I want to go super dramatic with that. I know you said that's going to be kind of the first impression right when you walk in. So I'm suggesting adding built-ins along the left-hand wall when you walk in and just really highlighting this awesome piece of large, bright art, which I think just pops off of this dark navy. So we would, build out these built-ins, add maybe a bench cushion or something here, and then really highlight this art by adding some additional wall trim around it, but having all the trim, walls, built-ins, everything painted in this dark navy, and then adding some accent lighting here and really creating, a focal point for this piece of art to pop off of this dark wall. And then also adding in these two panels. I can't remember exactly what you had labeled them, but these kind of tribal-esque panels, and then just kind of showing you a general idea of furniture. We haven't touched on specifically the needs of what you need in this space as far as layout, but just showing something that's a little bit eclectic. So, touches of modern with, a Chesterfield or something. So it feels a little bit more eclectic and global up here in the front and extremely, dramatic. So right when you walk in, this space is going to be, catch your eye and take you there. This is the view, just this would be right when you walk in the front door. So you'd have the office or the library to your left with this dark navy, and then the dining room to the right. And then you'll be able to see straight back to those set of French doors. So this is just kind of showing you what your impression would be right when you walk in. Powder room, also, trying to go fairly dramatic, without overwhelming, a small and tall space. So using this large scale wallpaper that has a little bit more of a traditional touch to it, but it's a really big kind of graphic pattern of that, so it's a little bit more contemporary. Using, this piece of art on this wall here, highlighted by a picture light, so just to add some drama. And then one interesting thing I think would be really great in this space, since it is so tall and not necessarily a large footprint, would be to create, the illusion of a more cozy space by dropping the trim and painting the ceiling this dark color to coordinate with the vanity, and then adding a little bit of inlay trim on the ceiling. So it just brings the scale of the room down a little bit and adds like some visual interest. Adding, a chandelier and then these really oversized wall sconces I think would be really interesting. And again, just to add a little bit of more pattern and interest, using an inlay trim, so that would go, around the perimeter of the floor with a larger scale hex in the middle. You can just see a little bit more of that there. You can take a look when you go through the presentation. The dining room, so either a paint or a wall covering. Just suggesting adding again some lighting here and a mirror, and just showing you a bit of how I envision the textiles and the colors in this space to be. This would be your breakfast area, so using a little bit more contemporary chandelier. A lot of your artwork would be in this area, so creating a fun and colorful gallery wall behind what would be a little eat-in area, and then just showing again the fireplace, so using this linear fireplace that you were interested in and trimming this out a little bit, which gives us a nice opportunity to add some textiles and a little seating alcove here. One thing about the living room is I like the idea of having the beams on the ceiling not be the same color as the trim, but being something a little bit more interesting. So either a dark paint or stained to match the floor. So that's something we can discuss and talk about, and see if you'd prefer to have that be white or you like the dark beams as well. Kitchen. So I don't want to throw you off with the kitchen cabinetry color because it has green in the color, but I think it's a really nice diverse color that kind of adds to the blue scheme that we have going on without being, every shade of blue under the sun. It's definitely got blue in it, but it is a little bit more green and kind of a deep sea green, I would say. But I think it looks really nice and adds for like a dramatic, interesting touch in the butler pantry with this wallpaper, and then just having it on the island. And then the rest of the cabinetry would be a nice white that complements the wall trim, and using here a Calcutta gold countertop versus just a Carrera, so adding in a little bit more warmth in that area. Second floor, again, just your artwork locations and paint locations. And this would be your reading alcove. So again, a pop of like really interesting, dramatic wallpaper with this Hail Navy again, and a little bit more modern fixture in here. So that wallpaper would be behind the bookcases. And then the stairwell, I'm suggesting just doing again a board and batten like we did in the mudroom all the way up the stairs, and then trimming out some of this leftover wall space and really highlighting your pieces of art. And then you can see here this chandelier. So this chandelier is actually like 6 feet. So it would really emphasize this volume of space we have here. I think it's really interesting. So I want to get your feedback on that, if it's a little bit too contemporary for you, or if you're liking the idea of it. Master bedroom kind of speaks for itself. The only thing I'm suggesting that wasn't really on the plan is, adding maybe an island type storage in your master closet, since it's so large, and highlighting that with a pendant. Master bath, I love the idea of using like a big slab of onyx for the shower feature wall. So you can take a look in here and just see, it would be here in the shower feature wall. So right when you walk in, eliminating the walls that were in the arc and just having a seamless shower frame. And then possibly using it behind these built-ins as well. I mean, that could be totally optional. And then for the floor, I really like the idea of, using a large scale marble tile, a 12 by 24, but inlaying, some stripes of this more linear tile from Dal Tile, that just to give a little bit of a pattern and something that's slightly contemporary but with a more traditional